Oh, hello there. Today I want to show you something about networking that I learned when it comes to VRChat. Because we don't have many videos about that stuff. Here I made a little level from Super Mario. And here I made a button to press. And the logic for that button is kind of how I learned that if you interact with something, send first to all on the world a network event. And so the network event then does all the stuff. The big problem, it doesn't work for late joiners. So you say also on player joined, check if it is the master. And then the master says, yes, I am the master. Okay, check, is the thing that the button does already done? And if not, so if this here is not longer, but the button also does that it is no longer, that means the button is already pressed. Then say press done. And press done looks, okay, everyone has now is master. Are you the master? Nope. Is it for your undone? The thing that should be undone? So this should be false then. So if the brick is no, okay, that was my fault. If the brick still is there but shouldn't, then do the whole thing here. Instantly the event, because the press me will play the button sound and animate the button and then do the press. So we instantly get the press when we join, you know. But all that here can be done for you. You don't need that. And I thought that for years now. Because in tutorials out there, it is said that that is the best way to cast network events like this. And this is true that it is a quick way to do something in the world, but it is something for short-lived things like particle effects, sound effects. Do that for them. If you have a sound that plays, or particles, or both, something that is just important the time it happens, and then it is not longer important, then do those network events. But if you are about states, then you need something like I made here, a Boolean that says, is the button pressed already? And then I make it public, so I have access to it here outside. And I say you are synced. So this thing is not just a reminder within a local logic, it is for everyone. The networking in VRChat usually works like you do something and it changes a variable, and then you send the variable, so everyone has it, and then you do the change. Because that means that when someone late joins, that person would also get that changed variable, because it's a synced one. And VRChat makes sure to make this thing with the late joiner stuff. Of course, you could still do the late joiner stuff, but then everyone would be asked, are you the master? Oh, no, I'm not the master. And then the second one, everyone is asked, okay, we know the stuff now. Are you the master? And then, no, I'm not the master. Okay, is the state for you in the state it should be? And then many player will send, yes, it is. And that is totally overdone. And is it easy? Kinda, I guess. Let's find out. I never made that, but I found out how this should be addressed. And I want to rewrite this thing that I also taught you that this would be a good thing to do. I mean, it works, but it can be better. So let's try that. we kill the press me network event because we learned, oh, it is about states, and states we don't want to change like that. So we get our pressed bool. Bool is a variable that can just be 1 or 0, so it is like a switch on or off. You also have something like an int. An int can be a number, like 1. It can also be 2. It can count in the thousands, but it needs to count full numbers, no decimal. If you want decimal, you do something like double. A double can have a decimal. Or a float. In VRChat, you usually see more floats. Floats are also numbers that can be 5.53, whatever. But an int cannot be a dot. It cannot be 5 dot something. It prevents you from putting a dot here. If you want to write text, you have a string. In a string, you can write text. And that is kind of everything you need. An on-off state, yes, no, true, false, or numbers with decimals and words. If you have a bunch of this stuff within something, you usually just put this behind it. These brackets. If you get these brackets, then you have a list of strings. So more in the bracket. And you get, you string array get. The first is 0, the second is 1, and the third would be 2, and so forth. And then you get outputted the string that is in this array. The same goes for int, float, whatever. A list of stuff has these brackets behind, and then you get it out, like in a for loop, if you want to make more complex things later. But we now need just a button. We have a button here, you remember? And a button just needs this here, a bool. And so the trick is, you can, of course, get the bool, by dragging it out. But if you control drag, then you set the bool. You say the value is this or that. Let's try what happens if we shift. Oh, shift just gives us the get the bool. What is the bool? Not I demand the bool is. And then alt pressed. Then on change. What is that? You can think like alt and drag and drop is like altered. It is altered. So that means if we have changed that value, oh, look, if we changed that value, then the stuff should happen for you, yes? That means the custom event press me, we don't need it anymore, because we do that when the bool changed. When the bool changed. So we we set the bool if we interact with that button. And to which value? Well, I would say true, because you can't press the button more than once. The button would go down in the animation and back up. So you can just press once. Then this breaks here open, and the button should be down. So, and then if you set this here to see, you see that I'm new to this, yeah? So we need a bool, a const bool, so a constant, and it is pressed, yeah? But also send the change. The change should be set. The change should be sent everywhere. And then I heard it is about ownership, so you need the ownership about the object. Interesting. I don't know why VRChat does that, because the good thing with those network events always was like, it doesn't give a shit for ownership. You just force it on everyone. And that was also, that was always an easy way. And now I learn that it isn't the best way, because you need a fancy word is serialization. So, and the event on deserialization, if you would have, okay, I can't do it because I have it already here. I tried out some stuff. So, on deserialization can just be once in an behavior, and it says when variables changed, then do that. On the request serialization, while pressed change will happen when this variable change, but maybe you still need something to process. So press change is just when change changes, when the press changes. But on deserialization is kind of when all the informations are over. So it is kind of the more safe way, because it waits for everything. We have just one bool here so far, but it could be more in future. It could be more in future. So this we already did here. Yeah. And before we do that, can I networking owner get owner set owner? So set owner is what we need to do to have the rights to say, for this variable we want to do the whole thing. At least it is what I read. Yeah. So let's see if we are able to. So this stuff here we don't need. So on deserialization, do we need to check if the bool is that first? I would say you could make it a bit nicer. You could just get the button, get bool. Yeah. No, you have this bool already, and you just take the bool value. If the press is true, then you set this here also to true, and then everything else will happen too. I think that is, yeah. It can just be serialized in that way, so you don't need more questions here. And yeah, serialization is something your tongue can easily flip over, but it's just saying, you know. So we get the local player. So the local player who changed the value should also be in the right to be the owner to send the changes to the others, and the sent changes are then the thing that is saved here in the logic on this value, and it will automatically sync with everyone. What is this here? Sometimes VRChat or Unity, whatever, or both. So I wonder if we need to declare this game object. It is game object, yeah? So I don't like to let things to be null. That seems important. So button game object. Let's say button self. So it is our self here, and the button itself will be in there. So that now should do what I have done. It doesn't look like it is way easier now, but I mean, so we interact. We declare the bool here to be true, and then we set the ownership of the button to the local player. We request the serialization. That means we are the owner about this button. We are allowed to say, I am right about what the button state is now. I just clicked the button, and I my state is the true state, and you all have to go like me. And then you request the serialization, everyone gets the deserialization, like the network event, and then you get all the stuff done. But it also works for late joiners, because they just join, and they get here the deserialization, and they get also the true state automatically without you fidgeting stuff like I did up here. It looks easy when it's just one variable, but do that when you have 3 or 4 variables. It just becomes a hassle, you know? So indeed, if this works, this is way easier. So we have here the animation kinder, and then we end in this. And we set the bool back. No, I would say we don't need that. But we set we set something to enabled false, the get component with the type box collider. What means the button will stay down and also is not longer clickable, because you don't need to interact anymore with that button. Yeah. So that should be how it should work now. I made the thing a bit prettier. So if you click here on the mesh for the button and you show it in Explorer, and it is called button.fbx, and then I go to here and I will just name it the same, button. Okay, it can be because we already have it here. I delete the other one. I name it button. I copy. I paste it here. And we get it. So now it's a bit prettier. The button will be the right direction. So with the exclamation mark, it is a bit more obvious. So white plastic we had not so far. Let's put it here because we have more control over the material. Maybe I want in future, you know. Also, always a good thing to do is enable GPU instancing. So if a material is used over and over again, we put it into the material. It's all about performance now here. You say when you set it to GPU instancing, but in this case it wouldn't work on the button or on coins, but on the wall, for example. If I say on the wall, and I made, okay, in bakery this is not possible here, but usually if you have static objects, you know, also these bricks are static objects, you would say GPU instancing and then go static, batching static off, and that means that everything that has this material will get it in one blast. I just set some materials here to bakery standard, because in future I could get the bakery add-on, and then I use bakery to make even fancier light maps for it. So now that I changed that, let's also change the box so that it fits like that. And let's also look if the animation still works. Button up is nice, yeah. Button down. Is button down also nice? Let's record. It's better like that, yeah. Or we just delete the positioning. We just use the scale. That means it is just scaling. Button up. Position. Just using the scale. Yeah. Because that means that wherever you put it, it wouldn't change the position, just the scale, so you have the click down. Always keep the stuff so that you could just like drag and drop it anywhere. Another thing, yeah, so many things that I learned. I also finally use persistence here to have a leaderboard for coins and stuff. But the problem with many things is I always teach you to create a VRChat Udon graph program asset, but sometimes you need a Udon C# program asset. And then you get something, yeah, something like this here. This is an example, a U# thing. It shows you the noodle bowl with the chopsticks, you know, and the U# in it. And this is the thing you get then. And this wants this here, a code. It wants such a code asset. And that will get in here. And the code asset will open then. A nice person, I asked how to make these platforms synced, helped me. Because it was like, I was struggling to make animations synced. But if a player joins and the other player joins a few seconds after, then these platforms that are in a loop animation are not working anymore. You know? Because, I mean, of course they are working, but in different states. And that means up and down is delayed and it looks unpretty for all the players. So what to do is the first thing, the animation of these platforms here should be on unscaled time. Per default, it is always on normal, unscaled time. And then you need a Udon behavior. And like I said, you drag and drop the code asset there, not the graph. We always do graphical stuff. But in this case, you need this code asset to be here. That then does the thing, the magic. And the animator of it should go in the animator. The animator itself also needs one thing. And the platform magic needs to be on the base layer. Here's nothing so far on the base layer, but it would just keep in sync what the base layer does. So we click on platform. We click on platform. There it is. I drag and drop it here. Now here is the loop animation now. Let's see in platform. Yeah, it is loop time. Loop time is always important. And then we can kill the loops here because it's just the first layer that will be affected by this code. And then we look into it. We can double click that. And then usually a Visual Studio should open to watch what's happening here. So we're using Udon Sharp, of course. That is the code's name. Then we're using Unity Engine, of course. Then we're using VRChat SDK base, of course, because it is a part of it. And then in the namespace, cat software, because cat is the person who did this code, .examples.synced animation. And then we have Udon behavior, sync mode behavior, sync mode .none. You know, I never coded like that. I never used U#, but it is kind of like C#. Add component menu. Whatever. Public class. Class is a container for code. And sync constant looping animation is this thing here. And it inherits from Udon Sharp behavior. So it gets all the stuff from Udon Sharp behavior that is a part of Udon Sharp. So you can use the codes that are out of the usual C# stuff, but it is declared and these might be function within Udon Sharp behavior. If you see something like this double dot thingy here, it means something is inheriting something from the other. Private animator. Animators, it just says it is private and not public. Yeah, it is the thing that we always already did. Can I? So you can see it a bit better, yeah? And then animator that is in such a color means we set a new animator and we call it animator. Then private void start this is the function here. Animator state info is declared as animator dot get current animator state info. So this might be on layer 0, the first layer, you get the current state of this animator. And you put it into the animator state info. So, and then you make a float, so like a number with the decimal animation length, and it is state info.length. So kind of the time where we are right now in the animation. Float normalized time is math function. Dot repeat float networking get server time in seconds. You know, I know kind of how the logic works of programming, but I'm so many years out of everything that is not graphical programming. So the bean is doing some math to bring the animation state to a synced one. Animator.play. And it uses server time for that. You know? It uses server time. Here is the normalized time. So it kind of, it uses the instance time to get the animation to that instance time, the looped one, on the first layer. Yeah, here is just a test animation for that function, and another person made a comparable thing here. But yeah, so this is how it is set up to sync animations. You could just copy what you saw the few minutes as I explained roughly what I think what the stuff is doing. Yeah, we also set the button to how it should work. And now we should see if it works, and if not, why not? Because I never did that. I just learned that this is the better way. That the networking in VRChat usually uses network events just for single, not so important events. But if you change a state, please use variables. And then you always set the variable first, and then you send the variable, and then the send variable will cause the action. That seems weird at first because you don't see it, you know? I mean, something is pressed, a variable is changed, the change is sent, and still nothing happens. And and people that are not so into programming might think, oh, it's not worky. So, and here we see, I already tested a bit, you know? The local player tested already a bit. And it saves the coins. This is persistence, the VRChat persistence system. Okay. I click and it's not working right now. What does the console say? Nothing. Cool. I guess that this is the reason why I never did it the correct way, because I want that it works, and when it doesn't work, I don't want to do it, you know. Okay, I instantly get an idea what we can test. The deserialization should work usually, for example, when you have more variables. But if you have more variables, why not just use the last variable? And in this case, we just have one, so we use that one, and we press Alt and drag and drop. So when this changed, we do the thing, because the thing can just change if this here is interacted with. And then we wouldn't even need the get, because we already have it as the new value. So we compile, save, and we test it in this way. I clear the console so that everything coming up now is something that is new. So it isn't perfect yet, definitely not. And the thing is opening. I lost a few points because I fell into the water. So also the animation here is working. Yeah, we see it. I don't see it with more players now, but I bet that it is correct. And I will also alter stuff so everything is more pretty, more working, and more performant. From the animator, you get, oh, this is weird because that doesn't make sense. So you get the button, you get a component from that button and type. This should be the type box collider, and that should be deactivated. What was that? From an animator, a box collider? Of course, the thing said, a weird thing happened. Stop it. So, you see, you always run into some issues.